What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Heir Flow Podcast. I'm your host, Ricky Thomas. I am excited to be back. It is 2025, and I'm saying that, which is crazy. It's been a while since I've been able to put together an episode, and I'm excited because I'm here. I'm back. I've had so many ideas for episodes, but you guys know how it is with life. No excuses. This is something I'm passionate about. So, it's always the battle of how do you balance everything else and still try to do what you're passionate about and what you feel you're called to do, and dealing with everyday life challenges, ups and downs, trials, tribulations. But I'm thankful because I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be here. Blessed to have my family, and we're just continuing to ride this thing out. So, I'm not going to ever drop the podcast. I've made some changes with some of the other things, for those that have been supporting for a while. Heir Flow from the apparel right now is on hiatus. I will pick that back up. I want to rebrand, redesign, and just really kick off something fresh and new for this year. But I really want to focus on building my platform with the podcast, with my Billionaire Flow, the IG page. So over 7,000 followers on IG. So I appreciate everybody that's been following me there. I'm looking to grow that 10,000, continue to grow my Facebook and YouTube presence. So again, it's all about growth, but I'm really trying to push the message of just positivity, just, motivating people, inspiring. That's what Heir Flow is about. That's what Billionaire Flow is about as a brand. I tagged it as not just an apparel, it's a lifestyle. Heir Flow Podcast, it's a lifestyle. I'm not afraid of the fact that, I am a Christian, I'm a follower of Christ. And, I try to inspire people through different means, but obviously my inspiration comes from Christ. So if you don't care, if you're not a follower of Christ, I still advise you and ask you to listen, give me a chance, share it with somebody who is, share it with somebody who you think may need to hear it. But ultimately, I'm going to stay in my vein. I'm going to stay in my lane. And I'm going to do what I'm being called to do. And I appreciate everybody who's supportive. And that's kind of the genesis of what this episode is about. Lately, I found myself saying a lot and telling people a lot that you have to protect your peace. And this episode is about that, and setting boundaries, and just really understanding, and me breaking that down. And of course, in true Heir Flow Podcast fashion, I have broken out peace into an acronym. And so we'll break that down. But yeah, protecting your peace is important. It's important for everyday life. I want to caveat before we get started that protecting your peace does not mean that you are not to be held accountable. It doesn't mean that you can't hold yourself accountable. It doesn't mean that the peace, because of the things that you may do that's negative, that you protect that by walking away from accountability. That's not what that is. And so we'll go a little deeper in that, but I want to specifically call that out because I've heard people use saying protect your peace in situations where they're causing all the hell. And then they want to yell, I got to protect my peace, without being held accountable. And that's not what this is about. So I just want to, again, caveat that. But as we kick in here, I want to go ahead and get things started as we talk and break out what peace is as an acronym. So P, of course, is, I have it set for protect your energy. So for those that are watching this on the replay, watching this on Instagram, watching it through the YouTube channel for Billionaire Flow, watching it through Facebook, you'll be able to see these, and I'll share them out with the episode description. But P is to protect your energy. And it's really about setting those boundaries with toxic people. And one, I think the biggest thing you have to be able to do is discern and understand what toxic means, and identify those people who are toxic in your life. And are you the toxic person? So, again, or are there people who are influencing you to be toxic? But you've got to identify, you've got to understand, and you've got to set those boundaries with toxic people to protect your peace. You know, I'm the type of person where I try to avoid drama, and I said to in this also to guard your mind from negativity. That is so important because to really stay focused on where you're supposed to be and where God wants you to go and where you want to go and the goals and dreams that you have, you don't have time to expend so much energy on toxic people, drama, and negativity. And that final point that I put on here is that not everything deserves your attention or response. Not everything or everyone. And I know sometimes, I posted something on Facebook this morning and it basically was like, protecting your peace is realizing that is understanding that not to argue with people about their opinion. If this is their opinion and if that's how they feel, then, why argue or get to the place where it's causing you to change your mindset, is causing your energy to shift because you feel like an argument is coming on. That to me is just avoiding that. Like, don't even deal with it. It's one thing to have a spirited debate, and debates are good. A healthy debate is always good. But when it gets to the place where you're trading shots at each other, it becomes petty and you start feeling that energy shift. Like at that point, you got to understand, like, this really isn't about that. And I'm not just saying that with some, I mean, it's sometimes it's being able to do it with your spouse, with your kids. Like sometimes you've got to be able to walk away from the situation when you feel yourself changing, you feel your energy shifting, because a lot of times in a situation, it will cause the situation to elevate, and yourself. You should. You got to know yourself. You got to know your limits, your boundaries. And if you set those boundaries and you feel like people are overstepping them, or you're getting to a place where you're about to overstep boundaries because of how you feel, then walk away from that. That energy, that is a real thing. So protect yourself there. All right. So P, protect your energy. When we talk about the E, it means really to evaluate what really matters. And again, how much time do we waste on focusing on the things that really don't matter in the grand scheme of our lives? So I always say, ask yourself, does this impact my life? Present time, we'll take things that are going on in the White House. We had the election is over. We have our president, right? We can't change that. And I found myself not really engaging in a lot of the back and forth conversations because I always said I'm not going to argue with people over their political, what they believe politically, because everybody has different opinions based off of upbringing, based off of environments, based off of different things, and I respect that, and I'm okay with that. Like again, I'm not going to argue with people over that, but I see some of these points, and I see people really crashing out on the internet and comments and talking real reckless and saying all this stuff. In the grand scheme of things, does it really matter? Does it impact your life? Is what he's doing? And everybody has their opinion. So again, I get to the place where I'm like, how does it impact my life? Not your life, because I respect how you feel. And if you want to go out there and protest and not just, and I have nothing against protesting, so I don't want this to be like, oh, no, if you feel strongly about something and getting behind a movement, then by all means, that's the beauty of living in this country, that you have the right to protest. You have the right to be able to speak your mind. I'm just about doing it in a professional, doing it in a way that you can get the point across where people understand versus yelling, screaming, arguing, and I get it out of frustration. But when you step back, does it really matter? Does the fight really matter? If you want to fight for DEI, then I'm all for it. But make sure you're informed. If whether you're for the president, against the president, for the former president, against them, whatever side you're on, just be informed. And then ask yourself, what I'm going through, is it worth my peace? Is it impacting my life? I'm just going to say, don't waste energy on things that have no real value. One thing that we can't get back is time. And I'm sitting here, what am I, 5 months shy of almost a little over 5 months shy of 47 years old. And as I say that, it's like, man, time is, I used to hear it all the time, but time is so valuable. That's what's impacting what's going on, or does it really matter with this particular thing that's driving me to feel some type of way? Is it worth it? Now, if I'm fighting for my kids and my kids' future and this, that, or the other, do what you got to do. But make sure that the impact of your peace, and if it's a negative impact of your peace at that time, make sure it's worth it. Make sure it's going to bring about peace at the end for you and for those that you care about. Just don't waste energy on things that don't have real value. Focus on what truly matters, and then let go of the distractions. That's the thing. Stay with the goal. What is it that you're trying to get out of it? Or what is it that you're seeking? Focus on that. Everything else is it's immaterial. It's like, just leave it alone, because again, we don't have time. I was talking to my wife, and one of the things I said is that, for me, I've got to get priority in my life, because that's when I operate at my highest. When I'm focusing and prioritizing God, that allows me to prioritize my wife, allows me to prioritize my kids, my family, and then my job, and everything else will follow. But see, when I get out of hand and I'm not focused and I'm distracted by my job, I'm distracted by the things that go on in the world. If I don't like a policy, if I don't like this person or what this person has said or done, and then you start going into all these things and you're talking about things that don't even involve you. Like, seriously, I'll take the whole P. Diddy situation. There's so many jokes and so many things, and people got opinions and all this other stuff. But and again, if the allegations are true, and I'm going to say if, because I don't know, I wasn't there. I've never been to a Diddy party. But if it's true, yeah, that's bad. But why am I going to crash out over it? He's got his own judgment and everything that he's got going on. What about the things in my life that I've got to focus on, the things that I got to make sure that when I go before God, again, my own convictions, I got to make sure that I'm cleaning up and I'm doing the things that I need to do right. Repenting for the things I've done wrong in my past. It's good to get a little distraction. People want to feel distracted, and that's why they scroll through their timelines on social media. That's why, they're commenting on stories. Most people, when they go watch something or they see a clip of something that's crazy that happens, what's the first thing they do? They go run to the comments, because they want to see how people are arguing and really crashing out about that situation that, for the majority of the people that are commenting on them, have no impact on their lives other than the entertainment factor. And they'll try to give you some good points about how they feel and why they feel this way. But ultimately, yeah, it don't bother. It's nothing directly involved with them. But just because it's a form of entertainment, they just want to stay with that. So again, focus on what truly matters. What really matters to you? What is really driving you? What is the goal that you want to get out of your life, or goals you want to get out of your life? And how do I get to that without being distracted too much? If you're looking for entertainment through that stuff, that's one thing, but make sure you call it what it is. It's entertainment. I one of the things that my wife started getting me to watch with her, for those that haven't heard or don't know, it's a comedian named Country Wayne. He had a very grassroots approach and blowing up through Facebook, and he was doing little skits there. Started off real small, and now he's very, very big in his following on Facebook. He's got a Netflix special. Had a movie out there, I think on Prime or something like that, last year or the year before. Touring, blew up. And we've been following him. We've been seeing him when he comes to Zany's Zany's Comedy Club in Nashville a couple of times. My wife and I have seen them, so definitely a supporter. But what's funny is people in the skits are acting, and people get so drawn in, which is good from an engagement standpoint from Country Wayne's perspective, but people get so drawn in about what goes on in those skits to the point where the actors are saying people are coming up to them and approaching them with whatever kind of energy for what happened in the skit. They're taking it as real life things. But I was going with this is I go into the comment section, and then you hear people like literally are debating and arguing and talking about, like it's real. This is it's being written, this material is scripted material. These people are acting. This is not a lot of their real life stuff, but because of how they're perceived and how people are taking it, people are jumping in, and people are really getting distraught about this stuff. And I had to say to myself, and I've got some friends, and of course I tell my wife this sometimes. I'm like, you realize this is fake, right? They're just acting. And I say it, and she like, well, Ricky, shut up. I know it's fake, but it's just the investment into it, and even at times I had to catch myself. Like me and my wife talking about it. I'm like, yeah, but they just acting. I got to realize that. So again, I'm saying this, raising my hand. I gotta admit, but again, when you start focusing on that stuff, one, if it's entertainment, let it be entertainment, but don't let it drive your emotions. Don't let it distract you from staying focused on what you got to do. If you spending more time scrolling through timelines and seeing what everybody else got going on than building your business, or taking that class that you need to take to promote within your job, or that time you need to spend with your spouse or your kids or whatever, like just think about that. And most importantly, and this is my conviction, if I'm spending more time scrolling through my phone than spending my time in God's word, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. That's Ricky talking for Ricky. I can't speak for anybody else, but just focus on what truly matters. For the A in peace, it's really once you realize some of the things that you need to realize, you've got to adjust your perspective. And this is so important, this next sentence, but not everything needs a reaction. My God, I'm going to say it again. Not everything needs a reaction. Shift your mindset, let go of what doesn't serve you. Again, what doesn't serve you, and see challenges as lessons instead of stressors. How many times do we focus on things that have, again, things that don't even matter, shouldn't even matter, but we feel like we have to give a reaction. And in that reaction, if we don't get the response that we want from that reaction, or we get a response that's negative to the energy we put out, or whatever the case may be, now that drives us to a place where we're just out of it. Our mindset should be, if it doesn't serve me, if it doesn't benefit me, my family, why do I care? Why should I focus on it? And then just letting go of, and seeing challenges. Again, my wife and I, we talk a lot about this, and I tell my kids this too. We're going to have challenges. And one of the reasons why I haven't been consistently podcasting is because I've had so many challenges at work, just things piling up, and my focus has been so much on, let me get through work. Sometimes I'm working 10-hour, 12-hour days to get things done. And in my role, I'm not, I have to manage a department, and there's responsibilities on me that I've got to take care of. And I spend so much time trying to do that, thinking that I got to make sure that my job is taken care of. And it's almost like I'm treating my job as my source, which, again, I have a responsibility because it's a job that I prayed for and God gave it to me. So I do have to do my due diligence, but there has to be balance, and only I can control that. So again, as I'm challenged, instead of me saying, you know what, I've got to make sure I've got time allotted to make sure I do my job. But most importantly, am I starting my day with God? Am I making sure I'm spending time with my wife and my kids and giving them what they deserve? I've got to do a job. because that's what I'm called. That's what I'm doing. And that's what I'm going to always respect that. But how much balance do I have? Am I going to work out? My exercise has been so off over the past, I probably say past 6 months or more. My workout routine has been off. My spiritual life has been off. I go to church, I do pray, but it's not the in-depth relationship with Christ that I want. And I know, and I've shared this with you guys, when I feel like I don't do it consistently and I'm not close with God, I can see the impact through all my relationships and just in my life in general. It's like I'm just off. And so doing this podcast to me has always been therapeutic, but those distractions, the things that I thought I needed to focus on, or the things that the enemy puts in front of me, and sometimes I'm my own enemy. So either I look in the mirror or the enemy himself will come in and allow all these things to happen, these challenges. And instead of me saying I must be getting somewhere because I'm very distracted, the enemy is really challenging me. And I need to understand the lessons behind that and ask God, what is he trying to show me or allow me to see in this season to get to the place I need to? But it's a mindset shift. It's an adjustment. And again, sometimes we just got to learn to bite our tongue on some things and just say, I don't even have to get into this. Yeah, I may feel a certain kind of way. I may not like how something is being done, but ultimately, is it being done to me and my family? Is it something I need to jump in? You may not agree with how somebody is raising their. I literally will watch. I used to watch little people will be live on there and they'll be talking about how they're doing things with their kids and raising their kids. And you go to the comments and you see everybody telling them, well, you need to raise your kid and you need to do this, this, this. And, it's all the you need to folks. And, you should do this and that because everybody's a great parent and everybody does no wrong. But it's easy. It's easy when you're on the other side as the keyboard warrior, the queen and king of petty, and you can just type because you're perfect in that space. But the reality of it is, if somebody shed the light on you, they put the camera in front of you, they wouldn't see that. So, I had to look at it from the perspective of how do I get myself back into focus on what matters, what lessons God is trying to teach me to get to the place I'm supposed to be. And that's adjusting your perspective. That's really looking at why am I not reacting to stuff. I can't worry about people coming on my podcast and commenting on it and saying, oh, his voice, it puts me to sleep. This is how I talk. I have a very laid back, somewhat cool, just peaceful tone. But I've also had people to say, I love listening to you because your energy, I can feel it, but it's also so relaxing and it's inviting. I have people at my job that tell me all the time, like, we love talking to you because, you keep it even keel. We can respect it. You don't get too high. You don't get too low. You're just very solid, steady, and you try to give sound advice or sound leadership. That's me. I'm not the hype dude. Now, I have a good time and I can get hype, but normally this is just me. And my perspective needs to fit. My perspective needs to fit the path that God has me on. My perspective should fit my purpose. And that's one off of, you can say, as Apostle Howard used to say, or probably still says, that's one off of Heaven's Press. But your perspective should fit your purpose. And so for me, that's how I am. So adjust your perspective. Make sure, again, as we talk about protecting peace, that is very important. The next one is the letter C in peace, which is communicate with clarity and control. That right there is very, 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 very important. Communicate with clarity and control. And this is where the caveat, what I brought up at the beginning, peace isn't avoiding accountability. I'll say it again. Peace isn't avoiding accountability. If you want true peace, part of that is being able to, if you've done wrong, be accountable, stand up for it. Everybody's talking about standing on business. Stand on the business of, I was wrong, I need to fix it. That's the first thing. you can't avoid accountability and want to have peace. And part of that is when we talk about clarity and control, what is it that you need to be held accountable for? What is it that you've done wrong? Speak to that. That goes a long way with protecting your peace, because you don't have to think about, I'm walking around out here knowing I've done somebody wrong and I haven't apologized or I haven't gotten that right. That's one of the worst feelings to have. We lose loved ones all the time. And I hear it and say it all the time, like when there's some kind of friction between, family members or, close friends, whatever, and one of them passes away. And people always say, well, I hope they made peace with each other before this happened. That's really where you want to have real peace, being able to say, you know what, I'm gonna miss them, but I thank God that I made up with them. I thank God that I told them how I feel and I loved them, and I hated the way our situation was, but at least they know that the love is there, he or she or whatever the situation may be. And sometimes it may not be a relationship where you talk to each other, but at least there's an understanding that, I'm going to hold myself accountable. I'm going to apologize. I'm going to do what I got to do for my part of it. So at least I can go on for me. Your apology may not be for you. The accountability may not be for them. It may be for you, and that's all you need to do, and that's fine. But make sure you do that. Speak with wisdom, respond with patience, and handle criticism without letting it shake your inner calm. So that's loaded in itself. One, speak with wisdom. Speaking with wisdom means sometimes before, you hear people say, think before you speak. That is 100% what that leads with. Think before you speak on something. Again, what I tell my kids, especially now in this age of where we don't get on the phone and have conversation, we text, we email, we'll mostly text everything, or we snap it, or we send a message through, social media, some kind of instant messaging platform. But it's always it's that lack of a personal touch. And if you're not thinking, you will say something that will forever get put out there. Twitter, Facebook, whatever kind of, Instagram, fan bases, the new, social media platform that's getting put out there. But whatever, text messages, whatever, you have to understand that what you put out there, if you put something ignorant out there, especially digitally, it's out there. I don't care if you go and delete it. Somebody's got a screenshot of it. Somebody will be able to pull it up. So you have to think before you speak, more so nowadays than other. And if you don't think and speak with wisdom, that's going to come back and that impacts your peace overall. So it's important to before you get out there, try to calm yourself down, get yourself into a calm headspace, and then respond to whatever you need to respond to, or speak whenever you have to speak to. If it's taking a deep breath, if it's, I've seen so many people do some things in a work environment that was definitely not professional because they were in an emotional state that they just needed to walk away from it. And it impacted their career and the perception of themselves as being angry when they had the right to be, but it was just how it was presented. And so it's important to just take a step back and really speak with wisdom. That comes with that, how you communicate with clarity and control. Speaking with wisdom is that control. Respond with patience. Again, if you want to protect your peace, escalating a situation by your tone, by your words, by your actions, body language, all of that will take a situation from 0 to 100 so fast. We've got to be able to respond with patience with our family, with our coworkers, with our managers, with just anybody, any relationship. There has to be some level of patience. I try my best in situations where there may be some miscommunications, where there may be, some energy from the other side that just seems off, or you hear a situation from one side. I like to hear I like to talk to the person if there's an argument or something going on. I want to understand what really went on. I want to hear both sides of the story. I want to before I respond, I want to get understanding, right? Because I think so many times people just go use the crash out term again. They crash out over stuff without really understanding that that wasn't necessary. So many people now have lost their lives um, because they didn't try to respond to a situation with patience. They didn't speak with wisdom. They didn't care about peace. They just saw blood. They saw just the opportunity to pounce because people are wound up so tight that now there's no real conversation, right? It's just, I'm about to go handle this. I don't even care. I just need an excuse to do something that's going to impact my peace, my family's peace, and everybody's peace. And no telling how far that goes down, the line with that act. So be careful. Control is so important to peace. Our self-control is so important to peace. And the last piece of that, again, I said is very loaded with that one, is to handle criticism without letting it shake your inner calm. For those that are content creators, for those who are podcasters, it's just content creation. For those who are in front of a camera, for those who are parents, for those who are, leaders, for those that play sports, for those that are in any position that puts you out in a place where what you do is seen by others very easily. Criticism is going to come with, and criticism comes in anything. If you're any kind of creator, if you're an artist, any kind of creative, anything you do that's going to have, there are going to be people that criticize. I don't like the way he looks. I don't like the way she looks. I don't like the way, they wear their hair here. I don't like the color that they're wearing today. It doesn't match them. I don't like, this, what they said. I don't like, there's always going to be that. Part of keeping your peace is really knowing that, one, you're going to be criticized. There is nothing you can do to be perfect. Early in my career, I was so much of a perfectionist, and I say my career as a professional, when I got into a leadership role and I used to have to send out emails about different kind of things that go on. I have to send an email about this or email about that, and I had to send it to a group of upper leadership. And I tried to put so much information in that email so that there would be no questions, right? One of the criticisms that I got was, you put way too much information in your email. Just give me high level bullet points. And so that one I took okay, but then I started doing that, and then I started getting a bunch of questions. I got frustrated. I'm like, wait a minute. I did with what my manager at the time asked me to do, but I got questions. And questions wasn't even criticism, but then I got criticism about, okay, we need more information. And so again, it was that back and forth. Some of that was less criticism and just more, things to help me grow. But I still took it as, okay, I'm doing all these things that you asked me to do. And so it started messing with me to the point where I was frustrated. Little ticky tack things like that would started bothering me because it just added on. Criticizing me for doing this, or why did you let this person do that, or why do you feel this way, and why, instead of understanding that, that's going to come with the role. When people do reviews with my team, they ask my team, how do you think about me? My scores are usually always good. But if there's one little negative point in there, it's like I do everything. Why am I getting this? But again, the criticism may be it's there from their part, and criticism is to help you grow. Constructive criticism that is supposed to help you grow. But with anything, you're going to be criticized. You're going to be analyzed. You are going to have to deal with things that are not, you're going to have to deal with people who may think differently than you, and they have an opinion of things, whether they're leaders or not. They have a say, and they're going to bring up stuff that comes with the territory. Like I said, me doing content creation and really trying to focus on that more so now than ever, I'm going to have people that are going to say something crazy, or I think it's crazy to them. It may be totally, it make total sense to them, but for me, they may not like it. You know, I think about pastors that are out there. They bring a message in church every Sunday, and they all the preparation, and people just don't understand what they go through to be able to do what they do every Sunday. The ones that are the good ones, the ones that really care and really get in their word and spend their time with God to bring something. Every message is not going to be met with a standing ovation. It's not. You know, sometimes you're going to have those words of rebuke. And as a leader, as a shepherd, whatever the case may be, that is your responsibility. Everything that you say may not be, you know, some of that itchy ear, feel good stuff. Everything that I say here, I say it because majority of it is for me. And I'm just making sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, being transparent in moments, understanding that it's going to help people, not just myself. It's going to help more than just me. So as I've gone through this journey of bringing things out, I'm like, oh, I don't want to say that because I may upset this person. I don't want to say that because I may piss this person off. I had to get to a place where I'm like, I don't care. Even when I started doing this podcast, I used to take 30 to 40 minutes every time I would try to record an episode to make sure I got the beginning parts right. I tried to make it so perfect. Say the word in this way, pronounce it this way. Try to make sure this is that. I didn't even want to, I didn't even record video for the majority of my podcast that I did in the beginning. I'm like, oh, I need to look like this, or I need to make sure this is that. I'm like, and I just got to a place where I'm like, why does all that matter? Focus on the message. Focus on, like, you'll get better behind the microphone. You'll get better with, interviewing people. You'll get better with sharing stories. You'll get better with bringing things together. That's just part of the process. I go back and look at, if you go back and look at different productions that have been around for years, decades, you think about the Oprah Winfrey show back in the day. I remember when it first came out. And you think about how it progressed over the years until it became this big production. You think about, take sports, the NBA. You think about how games were done before, and people in person, and how the production just got better through time. They start finding out better ways to be efficient and more entertaining and this and that. I mean, that's just part of the process. So start where you are, but just know that you're going to have criticism. And the criticism, if you are truly at peace with yourself and know what God has you to do and wants you to do, your intercom should be set strong. You should have a strong foundation in there. So knowing that people are going to criticize you is part of it. Discern who's criticizing you, because it may be people that you love, and I would think that they would find a mode and mechanism to criticize you in a way that is for you to hear. But just know sometimes you're going to get criticism from folks just because, and it may not be because of you. It may just be because of the situation they're in. Sometimes you locate what people are based off of the feedback that they give you, and you may not have any relationship with them, but they will let you know where they are in their lives. And that's the truth. So communicate with clarity and control. Last piece I want to say about that, and again, I have this conversation with my kids a lot of times. When you communicate through text messages, I'm very big on saying that you can't communicate emotion through text. I don't care how many emojis you use. I don't care how many, bold letters or putting exclamation points at the end of a sentence. I know that is supposed to give you that kind of mindset or concept, but sometimes you just got to pick up the phone. I've seen so many conversations between myself, my kids, my wife, myself, just all of us, different dynamics, that a quick phone call could have cleared it up. And I'm just saying that from our family internally, but also in different situations. Sometimes you just got to put the You got to put the phone down or put down the text message and pick up the phone and call somebody or get on FaceTime. If they don't have FaceTime, go, get together, have a conversation in person. People can't really get your true emotion behind a device. As much as you want to say it, as good as technology is, and I'm a big proponent of technology, but a lot of times people can't get that clarity, that emotional clarity through text messages. Sometimes you got to really step in there and you got to have that conversation. And sometimes you got to let the emotion come out, because that's where you get the clarity. This is why they feel this way. I know, and I've used it before. I remember sometimes I would send an email or a text message to a person saying, hey, I want to talk to you. Here's some things that I want to talk about in our conversation, but I want to make sure that I send these to you before we meet, just so I can make sure that I get the points that I want to talk about in case I forget. Because emotions happen, you get together, you forget some of the things you want to say. So I'll say that, but I still have the conversation. Let's get on the phone and have a talk. At work, I will, we use Microsoft Teams to go back and forth and chat. And sometimes I say, you know what, this is too much for us to text or put in the chat room. Let's get on a call. We'll hop on a call, turn the cameras on, and let's talk about it. Because it's important. I want you to understand where my emotion is. I'm not upset. And I want to make sure that what I put doesn't drive you into thinking I'm upset. If I'm coaching you, but I want you to realize, hey, I'm good. I'm just letting you know this as a this is a lesson to grow off of. This is a teachable moment. This isn't something that I'm just upset about. Sometimes you got to come from behind that camera, come from behind that keyboard and just connect with somebody. And that level of communication would take things a long way. So that is C in peace, communicate with clarity and control. And then the last one is E. And that is elevate above the distractions. As former First Lady Michelle Obama would say, they go low, you go high. You've got to elevate above the distractions. Distractions will always be here. There will always be something that will distract you from your diet, that will distract you from your spiritual journey, that will distract you from, your physical journeys to trying to do educational, whatever journeys. There's always going to be distractions. Some of those are, and those are allowed. God allows those things to grow you. Some of those things are put there because, again, to have a testimony, you got to have a test. Nobody in this life lives without having any challenges. Nobody can say that they got to their level of success where it was just easy, where there wasn't any kind of resistance. So stay focused on your goals. And I put, choose growth over petty battles. That's a mouthful right there. That to me is a huge, huge, huge thing, right? It is one of those things where you really think about it. It's like pettiness has become profitable in so many facets of our lives that we see. It's like that in sports. It's like that in any media. It's like that in the church. I mean, my God, it's funny because I see in churches, and not all churches, and I'm not categorizing every church like this, but I see this happen so many times where there's these little petty battles between preachers, and they use certain things to be clickbait, where they talk about a preacher, and then this preacher will say something subliminal about that preacher who says something about them, and then there's this back and forth. And it's all because of this little petty thing, petty little battles. But what is it really doing? Are you elevating yourself? Are you elevating God? And I use that as an example because, again, that happens in families. sibling rivalries, little things over, you know, well, it's like when I'm talking about protecting my peace, is that petty battle really worth it? To go and put comments on something or throw these little subliminals at people, is it really worth it? Are you that bored, or do you have that much time on your hands to do that? Because in the grand scheme of things, I look at it, I'm like, I don't have time to sit there and focus on a lot of this petty stuff. And I have a lack of patience for that. So again, choose growth over petty battles, protect your peace, which is, what we're talking about, and surround yourself with people who will uplift and inspire you. That in itself is so, so important. It's so important. Surround yourself with people, and I'm saying with people and environments that align with your peace and purpose. So I said it a little different, but surround yourself with people who uplift and inspire you, but not just people, environments. You can't grow in a place that you weren't meant to be planted in. Your growth will be very limited, I'll say. You can only grow so much. A rose can grow in the concrete, but it can only grow so much. It can only do so many things. It can only be a fraction of what its purpose to be without being in the right environment. And those environments, those people have to align with the peace and your purpose. But part of it is knowing, as I go back to the beginning, I talked about understanding what toxic is. You've got to know what toxic is for you. You've got to know the things that trigger you. You've got to know those things that are driving you to be off of your game or be out of your purpose. And you got to surround yourself with people. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes it's family. And you will be looked at as the black sheep of the family. You will be looked at as the person who, is just so different from everybody else. And sometimes, even if you tell them this is why, it brings on its own set of warfare that you don't even need to deal with. Sometimes you just have to go silent. Sometimes you just have to say, hey, I'm working on myself and I'm separating myself for these things. I'm not, and don't even have to put it on them. Sometimes it's just understanding, do I want to go through that battle? And then when you get to a place of strength, you can have that conversation with that person and tell them why they did it, why you thought it was necessary to separate from them. And as part of your growth process, you can have that conversation with people. If it's worth it. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it won't matter what you say to them. If it's something that you need to do to help you grow, then so be it. I've had family members with, say things to me that, you did this and, I have to elevate to where I need to go. I've got to address this to be able to get to where I got to get to, where I need to get to personally. And I can't be mad about that. And and you shouldn't be. That's what they need for their growth. And if if I did something wrong, I've got to be accountable for it. I've got to respond in a way that's respectful because I want to protect my peace. And if I know I've done something wrong, and if it's something that's been bothering me and something that's bothering them, then we gotta figure it out. And what works to have that peace that we need. But it's about surrounding yourself with people and environments that drive peace. I hear so many times, and I hear it so much. I still hear it. And it's funny. People always talk about, the hood, and I hear people that grew up in rough neighborhoods and they talk about, man, I got to always come back to the hood, or I got to stay in the hood because that's what people love and respect me. But it's the purpose and cause of so much hell in your life. And sometimes you got to leave that environment to grow so that you can build yourself to a place and be put in a position where you can come back and make a difference. There's a different story when you can come back and lift people out of that environment, inspire them to come back. That doesn't make you a sellout. That doesn't make you any less of a man or woman because you were able to elevate yourself above a place that you didn't feel peace at, you didn't feel joy, that you didn't feel you can grow. You didn't feel like it was part of your purpose to get to my purpose. My purpose may have been to come and clean up this neighborhood. But sometimes you can't see the tree for the forest. Or I'm sorry, I said that wrong. You can't see the forest for the trees. When you so in depth in what's going on, and at work we say, well, when I'm too far in the weeds, I'm so much in the weeds, I gotta be able to get up into that 30,000 foot view to really see what's going on and how I can help my team. As a leader, if I'm in the weeds with my people all the time, then who's going to be able to look out and say, okay, we're going the wrong direction. We're clearing a lot of ground, but we're not going in the right direction. And sometimes it's got to be you. You got to put yourself in that position or put yourself in that environment to be able to think clearly, to get that peace of mind, to be able to make a shift. That's why vacationing is so good. I tell people all the time, like, you can say that vacations are expensive. And I will tell you, based off of what I've learned, that it's expensive not to vacation. Your personal peace, your family peace, your um your marriage, just you as an individual, like getting away into a different environment that's calm and peaceful. Like for us, for me, I can do a beach. I can go to another country and just explore culture. I go to an amusement park and just get on rides and be a kid and just feel that joy and exhilaration of life. But whatever is getting away into a different environment, because that helps me come back to embrace the reality that I'm in and say, I want to be able to do more and do better. And it helps me to get inspired to say, okay, I got to keep working so I can do more of that. And I can help other people do more of that. And I can help people enjoy life, and I can be able to come in and have the energy and the strength to fight the battles that I'm supposed to fight, to carry the weight that God has given me to carry through my purpose. But sometimes it's just got to get away to a different environment, and sometimes it's temporary. I mean, I'm seeing so many people that I've followed, or so many people that through the algorithm of being online and social media, and they're moving out of the country. They're moving out of the country, and they have this level of peace because they're in a new environment. And I respect that. I've seen people move to Bali, to Thailand, to, just other countries where life is just different. It's simpler. Of course, some is cost of living is cheaper. But if money is a stressor, and you go to a place where money is not the main thing. That's one of the beautiful things they say about Bali, Indonesia. They say you can go there and they don't live life to make money. They look for peace and spiritual balance and harmony. So, they don't go and do they don't do war wages and all this stuff and try to take the minimum dollar higher and all that. They actually advise people who come in, like out of towners, tourists, to come in and say, I want to build businesses there. They try to make sure that they keep the pay rate of what it's been normally. They don't want to create that kind of competitive environment where it's everybody driving up the price, because they keep the level of peace. And for an American, it's like, well, why would I do that? I want to get the best of the best, so I'm gonna pay them 50 cents more. That will shift that whole economy. But because we're so programmed to that, it drives that competitive nature. And again, competition is not bad, but they look at, I want my balance. I want peace. I want to be able to provide for my family and have that balance of being a provider and also being able to spend time with them and enjoying life. That's an environment I want to be in. I'm not one that says I hate the United States of America. I do not hate the United States of America. I appreciate the freedoms that I'm able to have here. I may not like all of the things that I see. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. There's bad things all around. And so what I do to protect my peace is I focus on what are the things that matter to me. What do I need God to do? What can I do? And we work. We work, my wife and I, we work to be better for God, to be better for each other, to be better for those that are around, and try to make a difference. Try to make a positive outlook on everything. That's how I protect my peace. That's how we protect our peace. I try to stay away from petty as much as possible. When I feel it, I know I'm shifting in that way, and I try to go to a whole different place. So again, as we shut this down, I want everybody to understand, you know, why peace is important. What does it mean? And just making sure that you are doing everything to protect it. Again, P, protect your energy. E, evaluate what really matters. A, adjust your perspective. C, communicate with clarity and control. And E, elevate above the distractions. And then remember that peace isn't avoiding accountability. You still got to be accountable, but that's part of your peace. You have to look over your shoulders. You don't have to have people feel like, you've been doing people wrong, and you have to think about all that. Like, peace is knowing that you've made amends. That's the peace I want. That's why I would never be a good street dude. I couldn't. I don't want to look over my shoulders. I don't want to have to deal with all that. I like going to bed at night and sleeping peacefully as much as possible. So with everything, I appreciate the love and support. I appreciate just everybody that's checked in to see where I've been. I'm still here. I'm still rocking. I'm still excited about what God is going to do for us. You talk about being an heir. It's following through with the promises of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob when we give our life to Christ. And I just want to say to anybody who doesn't know Jesus Christ, I want to invite you to get to know him. I want to invite you to just have a relationship. This isn't about church. This isn't about a specific denomination. This is just a relationship with Christ. Give him a try. If you don't know peace, if you know Christ and you have that relationship, you'll have peace. So I love y'all. We'll see you on the next episode. And remember, flow on.